It's a hot bank holiday weekend in 2019, and the Friday before is exciting because I'm ironing. Well, it's the only time I ever get excited about this particular chore because I'm ironing my Women's Land Army uniform. Now, this comprises of a pair of fawn trousers, 3 sizes too big, and a fawn short sleeve blouse, both charity shop finds. The trousers are gathered and secured at the waist with a leather belt. Over the knee, thick brown woolly socks from the army surplus and a dark green V-necked pullover from Marks and Sparks are also in the pile to iron, along with the green WLA tie and armband. The only things that don't need ironing are the khaki-coloured felt Gurkha hat and the short brown leather lace-up riding boots and gloves. This will be my 9th year as a Gressenhall land girl. I cast an approving glance at the neat clothes hanging there just waiting to be worn. This is what the WLA would call full official kit. The usual everyday wear on the farm would see the girls in dungarees and gumboots, but at the Village at War weekend there is a real sense of occasion. I scrutinise my efforts more closely now. Does it pass muster? And, more importantly, would Lady Denham have approved of my efforts? Now, you may have heard of Lady Denham because it was she who founded the WI, chairing its national federation for over 30 years. But did you know that it was the WI that encouraged rural women to become involved in their local community by growing and preserving of food during a period when there were significant concerns for food supplies? Being a hands-on director in all sorts of ways, she appreciated how important the uniform was to the identity of the WLA and is said to have commissioned a top Paris designer, Charles Frederick Worth, to design the now iconic short WLA greatcoat. She wanted to create a uniform which was both practical and one that women would feel proud of wearing. The following morning, I'm eager to get out of bed and get ready, well aware that proper wartime land girls would have already been at work by the time I'm stirring. Throwing open the curtains, I'm greeted with blue skies and sunshine despite the early hour, this particular August bank holiday being one of the hottest on record. And after a shower and feeding some, apparently, starving cats who haven't eaten since 1899 according to their yowls, it's time to don on my beautifully pressed uniform. I still have rags in my hair, but these will come out last once everything else is done. And in the background, I've got some 1940s music playing and I'm feeling very in the mood, thanks to Glenn Miller and his orchestra. There's nothing like hearing the distinctive sax introduction, like a fanfare, of this wonderful piece of music to put a spring in your step while you get ready to go back in time. It's become quite a ritual to listen to this music while getting ready. I've allowed plenty of time to get ready and devote the next hour to hair and makeup. Now, this may seem like a generous dollop of time, but believe me, it's got to be just right. Vintage with a bit of artistic license. In May 1941, the Daily Mirror advertised Miner's Liquid Makeup, which was specifically aimed at land girls. The incredibly outdated advertising copy, with a charming illustration to go with it, ran as follows. Tractors are tricky till you get the hang of them, and this pretty land girl has just bowled over a wall. But she won't get into trouble with the instructor because she's bowled him over too, in quite a different sense. You see, she's wise. She uses Miner's Liquid Makeup, the amazing, complete wartime makeup in a bottle. You just smooth it on in the morning and it stays matte, fragrant, delicately tinted, whatever happens. Heat, cold, wind, rain, air raids, kisses. Nothing can disturb this miracle makeup. And now it's time to see if the saying, no pain, no gain is true. Actually, it always is, because as the hair is uncurled from each rag, the transformation is incredible, and the bruised scalp and interrupted sleep has been worth it. The tight curls are gently teased through with my fingers, and then for the ultimate 40s look, the fringe is rolled up and outwards into a sort of quiff, and the hair at the sides is scooped back from the face and held in place with combs. Now this is the way I cheat when trying to form the classic Betty Grable victory roll either side. And no amount of practice has ever seen me get these right. It's rags and combs that always save the day. Well, that and a very generous coating of extra strong, hard as rock, sets like concrete hairspray. The pièce de résistance is, of course, the hat. Now, when I bought it from eBay, it arrived plain as you like, but with the addition of a narrow dark green ribbon around it, and its smart WLA badge depicting a wheat sheaf pinned to it, this tops, quite literally, the uniform. You may well wonder how a hat could stay on such coiled and quiffed hair. Well, it's all down to a trusty but deadly-looking hat pin and grim determination. And back to the mirror for the final appraisal. And now I just don't recognise myself. Well, I certainly don't look like I belong in these surroundings anymore. And suddenly the doorbell rings, and it's my bestie Julie, who is my fellow land girl when we go back in time to Gressenhall. And she looks just like I do, dressed in identical kit. We both giggle like schoolgirls in excitement and anticipation of what the day will bring as we get into the car, about to embark on another land girl adventure at Gressenhall's Village at War. Britain is proud of you. Thanks to the land girls, so much that you can do. Lending a hand, girls, helping to see us through. Britain is proud of you. Our journey to Gressenhall takes a little over half an hour at this time of day, and it gives me time to reflect upon how lucky and incredibly privileged we are to be allowed to work with the Suffolk Punches during the Village at War weekend. Now, the first time I ever went to Gressenhall was for the East Anglian Heavy Horse Association Spring Show some years ago now. I'd gone there taking 2 of our Clydesdale horses, which is the Scottish breed of heavy horse. Measuring over 18 two-hands high, which equates to about 76 inches from the ground to the withers, they are big beasts, but gentle and biddable. I'd braided their manes in the traditional way with blue and white flights, which are sort of little ribbons that stand upright in the mane, and, as befitted the yesteryear theme of the occasion, I wore a sort of hashed-together land girl outfit. There was just slacks, shirt and a scarf round my hair, sort of Rosie the Riveter style. Well, I spent a jolly day there, watching ploughing matches with the other exhibitors and their heavy horses. And these included Shires, Percherons, and, of course, the Suffolk Punch, a few of which are resident at Gressenhall. These magnificent chestnut-coloured, smooth-coated horses are currently listed as an endangered species by the Rare Breed Survival Trust, and with fewer than 72 breeding mares in the UK, this makes them rarer than the giant panda.
Go on, old lad, get up there. Lead him off, please. Give me a hand.
During my day there, I got to know Richard Dalton, the farm manager who looks after the Suffolks, as well as the general running of the farm, and by the end of it all, I was eager to visit again. A few months later, I found they were running a Village at War event. Step back to the 1940s home front as you discover the effect of the Battle of Britain on the Norfolk landscape. Meet both British and American costume characters while strolling around displays of military and civilian vehicles. Tap your feet to 1940s music, etc., etc. Well, this was too good to miss. So I sent off my entry form to attend, but with a special message asking if I could work with the horses down on the farm as a land girl. My message luckily got through to Richard, who said he'd be happy to let me come down and help. And the rest, as they say, is history. It is so much more than just turning up in costume. This is proper behind-the-scenes stuff, getting your hands dirty and working up a muck-sweat type work. This is the true spirit of women's land army work in peacetime. And with only 34 registered foals being born in 2019, to be trusted and allowed to get up so incredibly close and personal with these treasured, endangered Suffolk punches for yet another year is such an honour. I come out of my reveries as we pull off the A47 and start to follow the back roads towards Gressenhall. Every now and again, yellow AA signs dot the way, telling us that the Village at War is ahead, and now the butterflies of excitement really take a grip as the country lanes swallow us up. Canopy of trees either side of the road meet in the middle and darken the journey for a little bit, and then we're out into bright sunshine again. Next left turn and we're there. We drive slowly into the car parking area, wending our way around the small roundabout, and pull up at the side of a path which leads onto a field. There are already many military vehicles parked ahead of us, some of them happy campers who arrived last night. And there is a real buzz in the air. The atmosphere is electric. And as Julie turns the engine off, we sit back in our seats, give happy sighs, both thinking the same thing. We're back again, at last. As we make our way down to the farm, everyone says good morning. The men doff their hats and the ladies bob their heads, and it is completely charming. The Brownies and Girl Guides pack have pitched tents in the field to our left, and there's a tang of wood smoke in the air as their campfire sends lazy, smoky tendrils up to the sky on this hot summer morning. We continue through the staff-only gates. Yes, we are truly official, and make our way to the staff room next to one of the open barns. Opening up the door, we're greeted by Richard and some of today's volunteers, and it's a very warm welcome indeed. It feels like only yesterday we'd been here. Hard to believe it's a whole year. We make coffee, we chat, and then because we're now eager to get to work, we're told what today's plans are, which horses will be brought in from the field, and what work they will be doing. And so off we go with head collars to bring in these mighty steeds. 6 contented horses are quietly dozing in the dewy fields. Reggie, Remus, Bowler, Trojan, Casper and Jim. Come. Once the horses are tethered in their stalls, We don't wait around waiting to be told what to do next. We naturally get on and do it, using initiative and common sense. We set to with the filling up of water buckets and hay racks, and once the horses start tucking into their hay, we get the grooming tools out. Now I'm usually in charge of picking out their hooves. They're heavy to lift, even with a bit of coaxing, but these horses are usually quite obliging. We grab a broom to sweep up the muddy, sometimes stony hoof pickings, and then each grab a dandy brush. Now this is a stiff brush, ideal for getting any caked mud off their coats. And then the smoother body brush is used to get excess dust off and bring up a gleam on the horses' coats. Now, I'm quite tall, but I still have to stand on tiptoes and fairly jump to reach their backs, and the dust flakes go in my eyes, but us land girls are hardy types. Nothing deters us from bringing these horses into show condition every time. We're all done by 9:30, and so it's time for a quick coffee break before the public start to arrive. And by 10 o'clock, we're back with the horses, and it's time for Reggie and Remus to be harnessed up, as they are going to be working in the fields today.
Britain is proud of you. Thanks to the land, girls, so much that you can do. Lending a hand, girls, helping to see us through. Britain is proud of you.
Over the years, the land girl work has varied, and I've been lucky enough to drive a horse cart, been taught how to chain harrow and also drill. Today, however, something new was in store for us. We lead the horses up to a field of wheat, and soon a crowd are gathered around watching Richard attach the horses to an Albion 5A reaper binder.
So I've got an Albion 5A reaper binder, 5'6" cut. So this is driven off the forward movement of the horse. Okay, so a big drive wheel underneath here, underneath all this, the top part of it. And as that goes round, the drive chain then drives gearboxes, which in turn drive shafts, belts, and so this whole thing will, when it starts up and make hell of a din, but the crop is then cut on the left hand side. It falls back on the canvas belting with wooden slats on, which then carry up to the belts, which carry up and over the machine and against the knotter mechanism here. This is the revolutionary bit, because this in here is held a piece of binder twine, which comes from that round box in there, threaded through the thing like a sewing machine. So when you get to a certain size that you require, that pushes against the string. It's a pressure switch underneath here. That then in turn trips. The needle comes over, and then it ties the knot mechanically. Hope this will work. And then that is your knot, which then ties the sheep. Whereas before, everything is cut loose, so there's a lot of hard work to gather it all up.
Built in the late 1800s, this is a clever machine which reaps the wheat, gathers it on board, cuts it to a certain length, binds it into sheaths, and then spits it out the other side. It's driven by the forward movement of the horses, and as they move off, it makes the most dreadful din, clattering and splattering. We follow behind now and gather up the sheaths of corn, stacking them 5 or 6 apiece into neat stooks, placed so as to keep the grain heads off the ground before collection, which is tomorrow's job. We're finished by lunchtime, and it's time for a wander up to the glorious cafe for homemade quiche and chips. We get appreciative nods and smiles from others as they take in our outfits. We've worked hard this morning, and so we probably do look the part, grimy and covered in straw and horsehair. Well, by 2 o'clock we're back at the farm. A couple of the horses are back out in the field with the hay cart now, and after we've shifted with pitchforks a load of manure onto the dung heap, which takes several barrel loads, we turn our hand to some harness cleaning. We lug the heavy, sweaty horse collars on our shoulders over to the tack room and get down to sponging off the sweat marks and saddle soaping the leather. It's old, but has been well looked after over the years, and so our input today is going to prolong its life even further. It's a rewarding task, and the harness smells heavenly as it's hung back on its hooks. And walking back out into the still very hot sunshine, we make ourselves useful, sweeping up spilled hay from the racks, and refilling buckets and tidying up the horse stalls. We also meet and greet visitors at the farm who ask us questions about the horses and their keep. You know, there's something about horses that makes people just want to linger with them. And by the time the event is over, there are still a few families milling about, not wanting to tear themselves away from this beautiful, peaceful place. The children especially are just awestruck at the size and gentleness of these Suffolks. They seem totally mesmerised by their magic, and seemed to go all shy around them, looking at them wistfully, as if they were unicorns. As the last of the visitors slowly amble away, it's time for Reggie and Remus to be washed down, and so we get the hoses out and gently trickle the stream of water down their necks and their shoulders, back and legs. They love its cooling effect, and they stand with their heads down and lower lips jutting out as if they're going to sleep. They've worked hard today, in such heat, but they're soon refreshed, and gathering up the rest of the horses, we lead them slowly back to their field for a well-earned rest.
Come on, fella. Walk on.
And like all their admirers of earlier, it's hard to tear myself away from them, but I'm happy in the knowledge that we can do it all again tomorrow. We're hot and dishevelled as we go round the farm saying our goodbyes and see you tomorrows. And as we wend our way back up the farm track towards the main house, we wave to the home guard who are setting up their vigil for the night, and to the brownies and guides who are gathering around their campfire for supper. We walk back to the car and we fairly fall into the car seats. We're so sleepy now. Full of sun, fresh air, good food, honest toil and horse. To be repeated on the morn. How lucky are we? And I know that despite our village at war efforts, I have glamorised this land girl life. It was of course very different during the dark war years, but never let it be said that us modern day land girls aren't still keen to do our bit in peacetime.